Hello and welcome back to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at the recent B&M exclusive, which is the 5 Doctor set featuring the Cyber-Leader, the Raston Warrior Robot, and of course the 3rd Doctor. Straight off the bat, I must say this is yet another brilliant set. Amazing bunch of figures, and I'm very surprised to see that the 3rd Doctor is in this one. A lot of new differences within this figure, but we'll get to that in a bit. But as ever, since a lot of people like looking at colourful cardboard, we'll first be taking a look at the packaging. So as ever, the figures are housed in the window box with the recent style guide and the current logo of use that's in the show at the moment, the TARDIS on the side, as well as the same gold limited edition foil sticker, as well as the name of the story and the broadcasting date. And then on the back you get some publicity images of the figures themselves, and again it's missing that synopsis that we saw in the first wave of this year. Maybe it was a one-off thing? Who knows? And opening up the box, you also get this lovely diorama backdrop of the caves where the Raston Warrior Robot first appears, killing all the Cybermen. And just like the other backdrops, you do of course have a little Easter egg, which has a Cyberman being blasted to bits, hiding in the right corner. So taking them out of their cardboard tomb, the figures look great as ever. We finally get a Cyber-Leader, which is something that I hoped we would see later down the line, and finally here we are. We also have a brand new figure, which is of course the Raston Warrior Robot, which is similar to the android figure, but we will be taking a look at the differences later on. But first, we will be taking a look at the 3rd Doctor, which is based on his appearance in that said story. This figure was something I was not expecting, as I'm quite surprised we finally have it here. Now, a lot of fans out there are not a huge fan of this look, but I don't personally mind it when it comes to other variants, and as it was one of the first appearances I saw him in the 5 Doctors, and they've done a really lovely job recreating this look into figure form. Now usually we would start off from the top and work our way down, but first of all I want to be taking a look at his shirt, as this caused a lot of hoorah amongst fans themselves, as this sculpt was originally used on the regenerated 4th Doctor figure, but the way it was constructed when the original figure came out, it sadly meant it would not fit on any of the 3rd Doctor figures, as the head was not tooled to actually fit with the shirt piece. Now this piece seems to be updated could mean the possibility of future tireless variants of the 3rd Doctor. This could possibly mean we could get a more updated version of the Time Monster variant, or maybe even a version from Curse of Peladon, which is quite similar but just have the waistcoat painted, and it would be very interesting to see. Maybe something from Season 8, like that purple-lined Inverness cape. It's basically opened up a lot of endless possibilities for future releases, so 2 shades of character options for doing this. So starting from the top, it's the usual paint-ups you'd see on any other releases, very neat and tidy. The hair has been painted white with a darker wash on the top, just to give a bit of depth to the sculpt. It seems to me that they have made the hair a bit whiter as usual, because at this point John Perry was a lot older, so it meant the hair was a lot whiter. The face itself has very nice paint decals. The lips have been painted very finely, and there doesn't seem to be any paint bleeds at all as far as I can tell. The head itself just looks fantastic. Then moving down to the costume, starting with the cape, it has been painted tremendously well. The pattern itself looks extraordinary, and it seems to be a rather close approximation to what we actually saw in the original costume. There is a little bit of paint bleeds here and there and errors, but I can turn a blind eye from that. As you can see, they also painted the lining on the cape on the outside with this lovely orangey colour, and it is just so nice. The material itself is very soft. I believe it's just made out of PVC, and since it's a lot softer, it means it's a lot easier to remove it if you decide to take it off. And removing this, you do get to see a lot of more detailing on the jacket, which has been cast in this lovely burgundy colour, and you also have this very nice red piping along the lapels and collar. Again, really lovely, and it seems to be all nice and crisp paint-wise on mine. Contrast between the 2 other colours works tremendously well, even though we've gone on about the shirt piece already, but you can tell that they have painted it in a lovely creamish colour. It's not really white, even though it does look like that on camera, but in hand it is in fact cream. The only improvement I would say that they could have done was to add the burgundy piping that was present on the shirt, but that is just such a minor nitpick considering it's a small detail. It has been done in the past, but maybe it was something they didn't want to do. They didn't want to add to this figure. Maybe it was a budgeting thing, but who knows? And then taking a look at the hands, particularly on his left one, you can see that they've actually painted on his silver ring, which was something they missed out on a previous release, but it's nice to see that they've actually paid attention to that detail this time around. Very nice little sculpt, and it doesn't seem to be any mishaps with the paint, and it's neat and tidy. And then moving down to the trousers and shoes, they've just been cast in this lovely black colour, and they are just the same sculpts that have been used on many other Third Doctor variants in the past. Overall, it's a very nice figure of the Doctor, a nice variant that I didn't expect that we'd see, with all the business with the shirt, but really happy that we do get this version now, as it's an interesting one to say the least. Even though it's not a variant loved by many, it's interesting to say the least, even though it's not a variant loved by many. And like I said, it opens up many doors in the future for future variants. So taking a look at the new figure, which is of course the Raston Warrior Robot. This one is just like the androids in the other set. It uses the shower's jet body to make up the figure, as the costume was just a man in a leotard. But much like the android, this new figure has gained a lot of new tooling. And to the untrained eye, you may think that they also use the same head, but comparing the two, you can actually see that the neck is joined to the torso is different to how the android's head is, which is something I didn't notice when seeing this in the publicity images. And if you look at the faceplate, that is also a different shape to the one that was used on the androids, as well as the inclusion of a backplate, which is a separated piece from the front piece of the head. Cool, there's a lot of pieces here, and what I love about this figure is that there is two different tones of silver. So with the fabric, it's more of a dullish silver, it's not as bright, and the head and the boots themselves have more of a sheen to them, which looks similar to what was used on the Daleks, and I just love how the light catches the brighter silver parts on the costume, as it just looks really great. But taking a look at another new part, which of course are the hands, and these two have been sculpted to represent the pose he would use to fire the little poles at the Cybermen. Unfortunately, he doesn't come with any spear accessories, which would have been nice, as you could have maybe posed him with a Cyberman being impaled. It's a huge shame, but it's the sacrifice you've got to make when you've got a small budget to run on these new B&M figures. And then taking a look at the boots, they have been painted in the same silver that has been applied to the head. There is also an added addition of some specks of dirt, as he is running around a lot in a quarry, so it does make sense that his feet would end up dirty. I think using this particular body as a base does make a lot of sense for figures, as the main costume itself was just a leotard. Overall, it's a very nice figure to have, and it makes a lot of sense to have this being in this set. I just love the silver applied to the head and as well as the boots, and it really does separate the contrast from the rest of the figure. So now taking a look at something that fans have been wanting for a very, very long time, which is in fact a Cyber-Leader from the 1980s. Finally, after all this time, we have one in figure form. I've always wanted one to put on the shelf with all the other 80s Cybermen that I've owned, and it's extremely exciting to see one here. Now, from what I've read, apparently there are going to be two versions of this set, and this will include some having a Cyber-Leader and the others with just a Cyberman. But I think most of us here will be desperate to try and track this variant down, considering it's the first time to actually have a leader to be released. Getting back to the figure itself, it just looks amazing. I really do love the 80s Cyberman design. It is rather complex with all the tubes and piping going along the body, and the figure itself captures all those details, and I just absolutely love that. Taking a look at the head, again, very nice sculpt with all the ridges on the sides and the piping from the helmet just going into the back of the head. It just looks great. They also have the clear chin piece, which technically shouldn't be there anymore, as at this point they had been painted silver to go with the rest of the head. But I can understand why they haven't, considering it would hide that little mouthpiece sculpt behind the perspex chin. The eyes themselves have been painted black, which I'm not a huge fan of, as it's something that I don't think was needed. Plus, it would look a little out of place when displaying it with the original Earthshock releases that came out well over a decade ago. However, if you are like me, you could easily fix this with some silver paint. And then moving down to the chest unit, the level of detailing here fails to disappoint me. The only thing that has changed is that the different colour buttons behind the chest bit have been painted silver, which is again accurate from what I've seen, as these chest units were resprayed often due to bumps and scratches being present on the props. So a lot of detail has been lost over time, but again, it is accurate. And even though I've mentioned the piping on the suit, the paint apps on here seem to be applied with a dull silver, almost grey with a bright silver applied on top, just like how it was on the Raston Warrior Robot. I really do like these 80s Cybermen figures, and this has to be by far one of the greatest figures ever released by Character Options. The sheer amount of detail that has been applied to this figure is just bonkers. And then moving down to the boots, they are the same silver, just like the body, but with some dirt splatters on the soles of the boots, just to show that he's been skulking about in the middle of a muddy quarry. And then taking a look at the accessories that come with this figure, he of course comes with his cyber gun, which is extremely detailed with all the pieces applied to the main frame of the gun, the red barrel with the black lines running through it, the black strap with all the buckles in it is also a nice addition, and the paint details are very fine as well. As you can see, there's a lot of detail being added in, and like I said, these are probably one of the best figures that Character Options have ever released. I'm never going to get tired of saying that, especially with those details, and it's finally nice to see that we have a Cyber-Leader, so now you can have someone to command your little cyber army. I may even track down a few loose Cybermen from this specific set, as I would like to pose them next to this Cyber-Leader. So for Articulation for the Third Doctor, since he is an older figure, the Articulation isn't as exclusive to what it is like now, but you've got Articulation at the head, the arms, actually, hang on. So Articulation for the Third Doctor, the head can turn side to side. It's very hindered by the shirt, so you can't move it that much. The arms can do a full 360. The biceps can also do a full 360. You can also bend at the elbow, and the wrists can also do a full 360. He's also got waist articulation, which is always very good. His legs can also move forward and out to the sides. They seem, again, very loose. I don't know why, but it happens. The thighs can also do a full 360, and he can also bend at the knee. So Articulation for the Raston Warrior Robot follows. It pretty much has a bit more articulation than the Cyber-Leader even, and the Third Doctor, so the head can do a full 360. The arms can also do a full 360, and they're also on half ball joints, so you can move them out. Now, I don't recommend doing this as often. As you can see there, the paint is starting to flake off. The biceps can also do a full 360. The elbow is also on a pivot, so it can move to a 90-degree angle. And the hands can also do a full 360 as well. You've also got waist articulation, and the legs can move forwards slightly and out to the sides. And he also has articulation in his thighs and the knee. Stand up, you bastard. Come on. So for the Cyber-Leader, the articulation is very standard on this toy, but it still doesn't take anything away from this, so the arms can sort of move, not a full 360. I mean, it's hindered by the chest unit there, so it can't go that far, but he also has bicep articulation. He has also got articulation at the elbow, and the wrists can do a full 360. The legs can sort of move forward and out to the side, but I wouldn't recommend doing that much because it can rub the paint off. He's also got articulation at the knee, and the boots can also twist a full 360-degree turn as well. Overall, this is just another lovely set to have. A set of figures that I was not expecting, as I was rather unsure what we'd actually be getting in this set. I know a lot of fans were hoping for an Ainley Master, but sadly that wasn't the case. But hopefully in the future we may actually see his little beardy face pop up again in the near future. I mean, who knows? The Raston Warrior Robot is yet another figure that I wasn't too sure if we would get or not, and it's really nice that we have him now just to add to the 80s monster collection. And the new variant of the Third Doctor is also really nice too, and the fact that it's opened doors for new variants later down the line is also exciting. Fingers crossed for a Season 8 version at some point. And also very pleased that we also have a Cyber-Leader, which I'm surprised we didn't see sooner, but there you go. We finally have one. So this is pretty much the end of the review now, and these sets are now available in B&M stores across the country. I know they're a bit difficult in the Midlands at the moment, and because I live there, I know the struggle. My next review will be on the History of the Daleks set number 6, so stay tuned for that. And until then, goodbye and happy hunting.